So in a couple of months, I'm heading off on a family vacation, and I've decided that AYN THOR is the only device I'm bringing. And if you've ever used one of these, you already know the game options are basically endless. So I set a rule for myself, 6 games, that's it. Let's take a look at the lineup. Why 6, you ask? Why not 10? Well, realistically, at some point, I'm going to have to look up, acknowledge that I'm on a family vacation, and speak to my wife, possibly even the kids. So 6 feels like the sweet spot between having options and still being socially functional. So the first game I'm going with is Yoku's Island Express, on the Switch, running through Sudachi docked mode. This is one of those games that I still think doesn't get talked about enough. On the surface, it's basically an open world platform game. You play Yoku, a small dung beetle pushing a small ball around. But instead of traditional combat, everything is built around pinball mechanics, which sounds straightforward until you actually play it. You're constantly bouncing around the map, unlocking shortcuts, and figuring out how to move through areas in ways that feel completely different to anything else. What really sells it though is how seamlessly the pinball mechanics are woven into exploration. It just all blends together in a way that feels surprisingly unique. It's quite a charming game actually, and it's really calm and fun, exactly what you want when travelling. Next up is Sushi Striker on the 3DS. Now this is a perfect pick up and play game. I loved it back in the day on the original 3DS, and on the 4's OLED screens, it honestly looks incredible, almost like a remaster. If you've ever played it, you know it's fast, slightly chaotic, and built around quick decision making, but it's also really readable once you get into the rhythm. It's the kind of game you can jump into for 10 minutes, or an hour depending on how competitive you're feeling. And the dual screen setup actually works really well here. Once it clicks, you're juggling plates, colours, and timing in a way that feels chaotic at first, but strangely satisfying once it settles in. For the next one, I'm going back to one of my favourite games on the Dreamcast that I never play, Zero Gunner 2. I'm a big fan of shoot 'em ups, and this is one I've always felt I never gave enough time to. It plays a bit differently to something like Raiden, because you're flying a helicopter that can rotate freely and shoot in any direction. That one change completely shifts how you think about positioning and movement. It creates this constant push and pull between staying safe and being aggressive, and it hits that sweet spot where it's genuinely fun, but also just frustrating enough to make you consider pulling your hair out before immediately going back in for another run. It's less about raw reflexes and more about awareness, which makes every mistake feel very much like your own fault. For the 4th pick, I had to go with Advance Wars Dual Strike on the DS. This one's basically comfort food for me. It's turn-based, familiar, no pressure to rush, you can take your time, think things through, put it down, and come back later without missing a beat. It's perfect for travel, especially on a long flight, and it's one of those games that I can always fall back into without any friction at all. And the dual CO system adds just enough depth to keep things interesting without overcomplicating what's already a really solid tactical game. Now this list wouldn't feel complete without a good old-fashioned arcade racing game, so I went with Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast on the PSP. You might know it. This game is just great. It's just pure feel-good gaming. You can come back to it at any time, play for however long you want, and it still feels great. There's just something about the music, the pacing, the voice of the characters. It never really gets old. It's one of those games that just puts you in a good mood every single time. And lastly, I had to include a platformer, so I went with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Normally, I would have gone with Super Mario World on the SNES, which I still think today might be the best Mario game ever made. But I've never actually played through Wonder properly, and this felt like the right opportunity to give it the time it deserves. Now, from what I have played, it feels very true to the classic 2D Mario, but with enough creative twists to keep it feeling new. I mean, some of those animations are great, and also being able to jump into the background is a really nice touch. It works really well in short bursts too. Each level feels self-contained, which makes it easy to play in small chunks. So that's my 6 picks for my upcoming trip sorted. And before you ask why I didn't go with something like the Legion OS or the RG477V, it really came down to one thing: the clamshell. It folds shut, protects the screen, and I can just drop it into a bag without worrying about sticks getting knocked around or caps popping off. Honestly, for me, it just fits better into real world travel. Also, I really love how you can create a collection in ESDE quickly and name it what you want. This really helps with getting into those games a lot quicker. Anyway, that's it for today. We'd love to hear what your travel gaming selection would be like. Drop them down below. And if you have been, thank you very much for watching.